They have no shortage of tank options, so I think they do have the space to put him over on DPS, and I think it's going to be important when you're coming up against a team like Boostios because we know how explosive they've.
Explosive.
I did it first the first time. Yeah,
Had to do
we
it.
know how they can be.
And I think
Well, Pulse, they're giving Boostios no space at all, pretty much just leaving one man on the payload and just saying, we're going to take it to you almost towards the spawn area, those double doors. Brutal.
It's almost as if the attacking team is on defense, defending this point.
It almost feels like that, yeah. And often on Eichenwald on the second point, the most difficult section to get through on the second point is that initial stage before you get under that bridge. So they've actually done well to nullify all of that defensive work. 0.019 meters, they were almost there just on the first push alone. But we know how difficult it is to end this Eichenwald last point. The reinforcements come back so quickly, but they're being pretty aggressive here, and this is where they lost ground last time, so you got to wonder, are they going too far? So the Diva will help. I'm just a little bit worried because they do have the Reinhardt, which is a little bit more of a static attack. If they had something like the Winston, perhaps they could run past the Junkrat a lot faster. But that being said, they also have very highly mobile DPS players. They have the Tracer and the Genji, so I think a lot of the responsibility comes down to Jinx and the Barnacle. Oh, as we say that, Job already falling. I would pretty much break it down into two factors at the moment. A, Boostio is just playing completely into what Pulse want them to do. This tank composition working really nicely for them. And then second of all, the DPS players like Luke and Silencio just absolutely on fire at the moment. I mean, what do you do in this case? You do you go even more aggressive, or do you try and tone it back and play their game as well, where Pulse is sort of more static now?
So scopeZ, if you could give me a quick rundown of what happened there, what mistakes were made, where do you think we need to go?
I think there was quite a big distinction between the teamwork of both teams. Of course, there was a lot of individual skill differences, I would say, as well. So Pulse coming out with a great DPS lineup there, and of course their tanks doing a lot of work as well, just really supporting each other quite well. And of course then the aggression and the composition is not being matched closely enough by Boostios. Boostios, I think, potentially a little bit shaky on that first game, got to get their nerves settled, and hopefully they can come out stronger for their second game, because obviously they don't want to be dropping out. If we have a look over on the way the pools are laid out there, if you don't win that second game after you lose the first one, then
you're out.
Then that's it for you. So not.
So they have the skill, no doubt, but now what they need to do to win this is their heads and hearts need to be in the game.
Yeah, and one thing about coming into a tournament as a first seed team is that there's a lot of pressure on you to perform, and if a little crack starts to show, or you start to underperform slightly against a team you didn't expect to underperform against, that's when potentially there could be a little bit of doubt, a little bit of panic. So what we're really looking for in the likes of Eden is just composure, and then on the side of DC, just how do they match up to this raw skill and this excellent teamwork that we've come to know from Eden. Unfortunately for him, it's a little bit too late. His team is already starting to crumble at that stage, and I think the issue for me for Pulse in that fight is they were allowing DC too much ground, so they could move in with that Sombra, and you could see Luke's positioning all the way at the back of the gas station. Arguably, he was playing a little bit too defensively because he wasn't able to put out enough damage. Here comes the tire, but can it really get enough value for them? DC going absolutely huge there. They came in with a disadvantage to the last point there, not as much time as Pulse, but really just showing what they can do from their DPS players, just performing absolutely excellently there. They really had it all together there, working extremely well to finish off targets nice and quickly. A well-deserved play of the game there for the Asgardian, and of course the survivability from the supports also paying off. Pac-Man on the Mercy, they're getting a good number of revives. Griff managing to build up his Transcendence nice and quickly, so keeping their players nice and topped off there towards the end of the map. Much better positioning there coming out from DC, really decisive in how they dispatched with the Mercy and the Junkrat early on to that fight. One Love Llama really stepping up when he needed to for his team, and then of course the Asgardian on that soldier, setting up on the high ground, just finishing things off for that first point, and now it really comes down to, can they keep this momentum up? 2 minutes, not really that much time to work with for the second point. Yeah, but you gotta feel like it's a little bit too late for Pulse. Kraken's, even though he has the Graviton high energy, he doesn't have much to back him up. And one Graviton throughout a whole round, that's just not good enough. The team hasn't been there to put consistent pressure on DC. Now they're finally starting to get control of the point, but not before it's already 99% in favor of DC. DC only need one more convincing fight to get back in this game. Choke, if you get a little bit of a gap by taking down a hero quickly, in the past that would be what you're waiting for to try and accelerate your momentum through that choke. But now with the Mercy, that can change, and it can really make the it can really cause a lot of headaches for the attacking side as to which route they opt to go for, whether it's the slow and steady, which I don't really think characterizes Pulse at all,
no,
or whether they
Eden.
go all in. Potentially we start to see a lot of triple DPS compositions even. Yeah, it looks like Eden are gradually starting to reinforce the point now, and it's going to get increasingly difficult for Pulse to maintain this momentum, especially against that shield generator, which has stayed up this entire time. That's insane how Eden just managed with 2 players to keep the point long enough for the rest of their team to come and reinforce. They really know how to work their way around these objectives, and really you have to feel a little bit worried now on the side of Pulse, because they've utilized so much of their energy just to try and get one tick, and it hasn't yet happened. Man, I really thought Pulse had it in there to finish off that last point, but wow, the resilience of Eden towards the end there, they just never give up, and even with their backs against the wall, they know how to stall so well. And look at Carnage there. I think this was the turning point for them.
Quintuple kill.
Those swipes there
Absolutely
look
insane.
extremely angry.